It's a game day from Finland, which means it's time to preview the Global Series between the Florida Panthers and Dallas Stars with Joey Erickson of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to your NHL Global Series between Locked On Stars and Locked On Panthers. I'm Joey Erickson. Over there, that's Armando Velez, and we are here to get you ready for the Stars versus the Panthers over in Finland. It's going to be an absolute blast. Armando, thank you so much for joining us. How are you, and how excited are you for these couple of games upcoming this weekend?
Oh, very excited, Joey. From the time that we first heard that the Panthers were taking on the Global Series, it was right before even the Panthers even were becoming Stanley Cup champions, and just the opportunity, and even for myself, go and think about this for someone like Alexander Barkov.
Yes,
I mean, this is not only a homecoming for him, but just his 12th season with the Florida Panthers, breaking the record for most seasons played in a Florida Panthers sweater, and all the loyalty that he's had with this franchise, especially after signing that contract extension after the 2021 season for him. And now it's paying off with becoming a champion. And now we're seeing it all manifest here. And that the amount of Finns that are on both rosters with,
yes.
Naming on the Panthers side of things, Barkov, Lundell, Nico Mikkola, Eetu Luostarinen, and their assistant coach, Tomo Ruutu, and of course for the Star side of things with Rope Hint, Asa Lindell, and everything for them. Just for the Stars, I'm sure you're just excited as well.
Absolutely. The Finnish representation runs deep for both sides. So I can't wait to get into that. Some of the matchups, and really two Stanley Cup contenders going at it for the first time here this weekend. It will be an absolute blast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. By the way, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. So Armando, both of these teams have sort of gotten off to really similar starts. You look at the numbers, some of them are different, but really, really good starts to the season for both the Stars and Panthers. What have you made from the first 11 games from these defending Stanley Cup champions?
It's really truly about just the buy-in for this roster. And I mean, you're thinking of 8 games without Alexander Barkov, 6 of them without Matthew Tkachuk, and still the ability to just get off to a great start. They have one bump in the road in Buffalo in their first road game against them, but it was really trying to figure out how to. I wouldn't say trying to figure out how to play without them, because they've had different spurts throughout the llast few seasons on playing without at least one of them. This is the first time that in the last 2 years that they've had both of them out, and they were still able to go through a 5-3-1 record throughout that, for at least without Barkov. And really, I mean, the step up in a guy like Anton Lundell, Sam Bennett, who's leading the team in goals, and I mean, you're getting great goaltending from Sergei Bobrovsky. Their penalty killed outstanding, and it's crazy. Even the power play is kind of above par for them with so many moving parts. I mean, Uvis Belinskas has recently been on power play 1 after Boquist was the guy starting off the year after getting hit with the puck on opening night against the Boston Bruins, but still they've been able to still manage through. And for them, also the new guys coming into the mix, AJ Greer as one of them, Jesper Boquist, who's now on the third line for the Panthers, and Maki Samoskevich getting his chances. He scored his first goal the other night against the New York Islanders. But I mean, still, the guys are creating their own chances over and over again. And I mean, for the Star side of things, Joey, I mean, if you did not put the standings in front of me and you told me that this team was 7-2-0, I'm like, oh yeah, they're leading the division. Of course they are. And I'm like, oh wait, the Winnipeg Jets are 9-1-0 as well. So, but also looking at looking at their schedule, only really one dud in the season for them against the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, and a very close game against a very improved Washington Capitals team. For them, I mean, everything that Spencer Carberry's done there has been outstanding. But what have been your impressions of the Dallas Stars throughout this young season?
Yeah, the Stars certainly had a bump as well in Buffalo, like Florida, I suppose. But I think they're building towards their game currently, and they have a lot of moving pieces. They haven't had to deal with as many injuries as Florida has right off the hop, but there are a lot of new faces with Matt Dumba and Ilya Lyubushkin that have joined the Stars in the offseason, and they've kind of been shooed into this top 4 role in Dallas. And I think Ilya Lyubushkin has been phenomenal. He's paired nicely with Esa Lindell, specifically on the PK, and the Stars right now have the best PK in all of the NHL. So that has certainly really helped. The power play got off to an atrocious start. They were 2 for 21 at one point, but they went 3 for 5 against Boston, and then they started to get that confidence back. I guess the number one reason for their really good start has been their goaltending. Jake Ottinger has been phenomenal. He gets paid, rightfully so, with that big new contract, and he's looked really, really good. And the new backup, Casey DeSmith, has already pitched a shutout, and he's had a few good moments as well. And as you mentioned, Winnipeg is just scorching right off the hop. So Dallas is in second in the Central. But you mentioned Florida, and I think that's about some of the injuries they've gone through with Tkachuk and Barkov. And you can even kind of say that from a few years ago when they went to the Stanley Cup for the first time, right? Bobrovsky wasn't your number one going into that series. I believe it was against Boston, which is crazy to think about, but that's what makes them such a Stanley Cup contender year in and year out, because they have all these pieces that step up when others go down. Injuries, maybe just bad play. They all find a way to get it done. And it's the buy-in, right? And the Stars have bought into the Pete DeBoer system, and they're trying to get over that hump, right? It's now, can you get over that Western Conference final hump? And I think, like a lot of teams, the Stars are trying to emulate the Panthers. They want to be a bit more gritty and physical, like Matthew Tkachuk. And the Panthers were all over Connor McDavid in that Stanley Cup final, all over him, would not give him an inch of space. And I don't think the Stars did that enough. So they went out and got some guys like Dumba and Lyubushkin who were a bit more physical, give them some of that grit, and hopefully it all materializes into a great postseason run. So, I mean, most of these teams are just off to terrific starts, which is a really, really good sign. I did want to pose this question to you. I talked about it on my show. Hate to put you on the spot, but is there a player that's been most surprising for you on the Panthers through the first 11 games? And then I would love to hear if there's a most disappointing player, if there is any, at this point in time.
I'm going to start with the most disappointing one for me. I'm going to start with someone like Adam Boqvist for the Panthers. I mean, I spoke about him earlier on Power Play 1, but it's just really on 5-on-5 play in his own end, and just a lot of lost battles for him in his own end. I mean, he was the scratch for the Panthers once they got their complement of players back. I mean, for them with Barkov coming in, and for a while they were playing Uvis Balinskis as a forward for a little while, and then once they got a little bit healthy, Adam Boqvist was the odd man out for the Panthers there. So for him, I would say that was the most disappointing signing for the Panthers. I mean, there was still that very question of who was going to play, who was going to replace Brandon Montour as the number one power play quarterback. I mean, you were not going to pay $7 million for Brandon Montour there with all the cap constraints and paying Sam Reinhart as well. But for the Panthers, maybe I would say maybe the most impressive one I would say is Sam Bennett. Contract year Sam Bennett, and also he has an initiative of called Benny's Buddies, that for every goal he scored, he's sponsoring a pet to get adopted for the Power Humane Society. So it's also a great motivation for him, not only him being in a contract year, but just the step he's taken. I mean, we were talking about during the offseason Anton Lundell, he's going to be the future 2C. Sam Bennett, he's going to command a big payday, and probably the Panthers are going to move on from him this offseason. But also there's also that report from Elliot Freeman a few weeks ago on the contract negotiations starting for the two sides. So and it's really to the benefit of the Panthers. I'm not too worried about the contract right now. This is contributing to hopefully what is a repeat of being a Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah, the Panthers are so deep in that center position with Barkov, Reinhart, and Bennett. And the Stars have some, good players as well with Rope. I mean, you got Wyatt Johnston, who's an up-and-coming player as well. So, down the middle, I think it's going to be really, really big in these two games. I'm really looking forward to see both of these teams go at it. Any fun Finnish things that you saw the Panthers do? I know I shared it with my audience, but I would love for you to get a chance to share it with mine. Maybe some of the things the Panthers have been doing that maybe the Stars differed from. So I'd love to hear some of those adventures and culture things they've gotten into so far.
Before I get there, I did miss one thing on the lineup for the Panthers. Tomas Nosek, who was one person who was going to replace Kevin Stenley on the penalty kill. He got injured in the first preseason game. He's expected to make his Panthers debut on Friday against the Dallas Stars. So coming off LTIR, and Patrick Giles has been impressive in the preseason and getting that roster spot and earning a little bit of time. He's likely to be sent down. But for the Panthers, just their trips to the sea and sauna culture there that's been it's talked about so much for them. And also talked a little bit about reindeer and also salmon soup. That's also another thing that we've spoke about a little bit about the delicacies there. And I also saw for the Star side of thing, Asa Lindell for the Stars dropping the puck at the rink that he for the team that he owns. So that's I saw that for the Star side of thing. How about you?
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. He's a co-owner, as you mentioned, and it was funny because, the players in Dallas that get a lot of the hype are kind of the Wyatt Johnstons of the world, the Jason Robertsons, but over there's this long line to meet Esa Lindell, right? Like that's their guy, and I think that just perfectly encapsulates why the NHL is going over across the pond to do these games because, Barkov is probably a legend there. Like he is the player that a lot of these young kids look up to. And I think that is just so great where, fans can see them. And like Rope Hens even just came out here today that he's going to have his grandparents get to watch him in the NHL for the first time because they don't have the opportunity to move to come over to the States. So like, that's what it's all about. So I'm really, really pumped to see that. And yeah, Rope dropped a new shoe line. It's a fashion shoe line that is actually going to benefit kids as well in Finland. So awesome. Yeah, the Stars are getting into a ton of good things. And it's great that both teams are really relishing in the fact to be there. Okay, let's continue to discuss the Panthers and Stars. We'll talk a bit about them being Stanley Cup contenders. What do the Panthers have to do in order to get it done again? We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars and Locked On Panthers, this special crossover edition for the NHL Global Series, is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on the great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You get panoramic views from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you get there. You want to go to a Panthers game? You want to go to a Stars game? You want to go to football, comedy, theater, you name it, they have it on Game Time. And they have the lowest ticket price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create the account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is Game Time. All righty, Armando, what do the Panthers have to do to get to a third straight Stanley Cup final? And what do they have to do if they want to win it again? It looks like they have all the pieces once again. You actually got to keep a lot of them. I know you mentioned Brandon Montour that left, and that certainly helped. But, the Panthers, who cares? Just next man up. And it feels like when you have Bobrovsky as well, you're always going to be in a position to win again. So what do you think are maybe some of the concerns you have maybe this time come April if they want to get the job done again?
Maybe wing depth would be the what I'd like to see improve for the Panthers, because that's still, the jury's still out because of just the development of Mackie Samoskevich now getting a full season with him. Right now he's playing on the fourth line, so we don't know if he's going to be a mainstay. I mean, they kept his spot all throughout training camp. So at least for how well his hands are, how well he skates north-south for him. So maybe he'll get another opportunity. He'll continue this opportunity, for the Panthers here. But I think they're still going to look for wing help when we get to the trade deadline. I don't think they're going to go to the point where they're going to be trading first-round picks like they were. How crazy they went a few years ago for them, and also maybe get a little bit of help on the defense. But number one factor, and I just pulled up the stat once again for the postseason penalty kill. They're second in the entire NHL in postseason penalty kill, right behind Edmonton Oilers. I remember when they got to the Stanley Cup Final, it was only 4 goals against for the Oilers when they got to the Stanley Cup Final. Yeah. And for the Panthers, they're right behind them there. And it's just really about how you play on that end of the ice and just the continuing to play these low scoring games, which the Panthers really thrive. And it's funny because if you're truly top heavy on the scoring side of things, which the fourth line didn't score a single goal throughout the postseason, you could manage it if your penalty kill really well on that side of things. So I think that's really for them a big factor for the Panthers in order to just get it right. And even in the regular season last year, they had the best road penalty kill. They're able to go into any building and to find ways to win there, which, speaking of going into another building, the last time these two teams met in mid-March, the Panthers won that game, scoring 3 goals in about a 4-minute stretch. But that was the start of a really bad turn for the Panthers. They did not look good in a win, and that was in the middle of still a really long road winning streak, which they almost broke the record for in the NHL for that. But really, for the Panthers and the Stars at that time, I mean, for the Panthers, at least their side of things, they still found a way to rebound even through horrible stretches. So that's really for the Panthers, their ability to kill penalties in that. And it's crazy because we were even talking about pre-recording. These two teams have been so close to meeting in the Stanley Cup Final, and it still hasn't happened. And the thing is, Pete DeBoer and Paul Maurice are best friends. They coached with each other for the Detroit Junior Red Wings. And even when it comes to the best looking coaches, Paul Maurice was up there, and the first question he asked is like, "Where's Pete DeBoer ranked?" He asked about him, the former Panthers head coach Pete DeBoer. So it's crazy to think how there's that possibility. And also, I was thinking about this, Joey. And I wonder what side of the coin you're on with this. If these guys met in the postseason last year in the Stanley Cup Final and then had to take their series to the Global Series here, I don't know where I would have felt with the home fans versus the Finnish fans getting this season series versus the home fans. Where do you side on this?
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's a good point, man. I don't even know if I can answer that perfectly, but I mean. Yeah, that's tough. It would be tough because I know Florida's not coming to Dallas this year because of this global series. But man, I love it either way. I think I was so on board. And as you mentioned, like when we knew it came out, I can't remember when it exactly came out. It may have been February or January when we found out about the global series. I just got giddy, and I know a lot of the Stars players did as well. So yeah, no, that's an intriguing question, a great question. And man, I would love for these two teams to meet as well. Southern hockey at its best. The Stars versus the Panthers would be awesome. And yeah, special teams and goaltending usually plays a big factor. And you mentioned the Edmonton penalty kill. Well, the Stars got to look at that firsthand. Power play just went to absolute crap in that series against Edmonton. I mean, to put it lightly, like they just could not find a way to score. Even though they had the advantages on Edmonton. I mean, yeah, they didn't have the best player in the world in Connor McDavid, but if you looked at the Stars' depth, and I mean, you could give them their goaltending had a bit of an edge, even though Stuart Skinner found a way in that series as well. But special teams is huge. And you mentioned winning on the road. Stars had their best season a year ago on the road, which has kind of been a characteristic of them. And that's what great teams do, especially in postseason series. Like, you got to win one, but if you can win two games on the road in the Stanley Cup playoffs, like you're going to put yourself in a great spot to win a lot of playoff series. And I mean, the Panthers a few years ago, they went down, really early to Boston, but they had to come up with a couple big wins on the road, and that's how you get it done. So yeah,
not having home ice at all.
Yes,
in 2023. run.
Well, the Stars don't need home ice, Armando. They keep getting it, and they never win game one. Tell Pete DeBoer he needs to do the Paul Maurice trend. We don't need home ice because we keep losing game ones for some reason. And it's certainly frustrating. Okay, let's segue into a final segment. We'll talk about some of these matchups: Bobrovsky, Ottinger. You got Barkov and Rope, and then let's do some fun predictions because why not? The Global Series kicks off today. A 1 o'clock puck drop here. I guess is at 2 o'clock over in Florida. Okay, I want to make sure I get that right. The time zones can be tough. Okay, we'll do that on the other side. Today's episode of Locked On Stars, Locked On Panthers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you place your bet. So go ahead, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You can download it on your smartphone. It takes 30 seconds. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The first matchup that jumps out to me, Armando, between these two teams, I got to start in net. We have to show some love to the goaltenders. It's the most important position in the entire game. Bobrovsky versus Ottinger. And I think this is, this on the Stars side of things, this is a measuring stick contest. And yeah, there's a lot of pageantry with the Global Series and everything going on, but I guess I wouldn't be surprised if the Stars lost both games. I wouldn't be surprised if they won both either. I just think they're really two quality teams. But Ottinger versus Bobrovsky. Ottinger wants to be in that Bobrovsky tier, right? Like he's got paid, but he's had some postseason success. But can he help the Stars get over the hump? Bobrovsky's kind of been there, done that. So that's the one that kind of jumps out to me right away. And I think that Bobrovsky has killed the Stars in years past. He has always been a nemesis of Dallas. I'd have to look up his numbers. You may know a bit more, but you could speak on him, of course, and what Bob has done for Florida since he got there.
Yeah, Sergei Bobrovsky just it's funny how the reputation for him has just gone from downs all the way to up. And
yes.
even for Sergei, the 2022 regular season wasn't the best for him, but he really carried the Panthers throughout that 2022 postseason, and it was the least of their issues where they couldn't really score on the power play for them against the Washington Capitals nor the Tampa Bay Lightning. They went 1 for 31 in those two series after winning their first playoff series win in 26 years. It's crazy what happens after you win one series in over 2.5 decades and what that can do for a franchise. But yeah, for the Panthers there, it's going to be awesome getting this goaltending matchup, as the Stars will get the first home game. They will be the designated home team for the first one after looking it up. And also it's crazy. Also, another comparable that I was just looking at just a few years ago. I remember when Spencer Knight signed his extension.
Yes,
I was looking at the Jake Ottinger contract for the Stars at the time and just saying, okay, this is the projection of what they think Spencer Knight is going to be based on that. But obviously, Jake Ottinger's started games. Spencer Knight has had a little bit of a bump in the road with going to the players' assistance program. And now there's still that question up in the air, while still Sergei Bobrovsky is the guy in net. And still, he's going to get his 50 games in. He has 400 wins. He's not the winningest Russian goaltender. He's gonna at least get in the top 10 by this year, probably, for him. That's gonna be a big mission for him. And also, Joey, if the Panthers win both of these games in Finland, Paul Maurice will tie Pete DeBoer with wins.
Yes,
as the Florida Panthers bench boss with 103. Pete DeBoer had 103 at the Panthers. Paul Maurice currently sits at 101. So it's crazy to think what could happen if the Panthers sweep this.
Yes, no, that'll almost be a perfect storybook for Maurice too. I'm sure he would let Pete DeBoer know that as well after this series. I just looked it up. Here's Bobrovsky's numbers against the Stars. In 23 career games, he's 18-2-2, 2.35 goals against average, 924 save percentage. So he has been lights out. We'll probably get to see Spencer Knight and Casey DeSmith in one of these games, unless, the Panthers want to go for the throat and they want to put Bobrovsky in for both, which they very could well. And, Knight and Ottinger have an interesting, I guess, inner rivalry. Spencer Knight, Boston College guy. Jake Ottinger, BU guys. So you got the little colleges.
USA guys.
Yes, and both USA guys, of course. And Ottinger hopes to, play on the USA team here for the Four Nations face-off coming up here, which I believe is in January or February, which will be a ton of fun. One more matchup, and then we get to some predictions because I feel like we got to make note of some of these guys. Barkov and Rope. I think, too, just some of the purest – they're like just so pure Finnish the way they play the game, like two-way guys. They can score. And Barkov's just so fun to watch. He's just so good in all areas, but that's one. Them kind of going head to head will be a ton of fun as well, because I think they're epitome of like Selke Trophy candidates.
Yeah. Those two for them is definitely just showcasing. And then I was talking about this yesterday on just the recent hat tricks for the Global Series. I mean, Patrick Laine back in 2019, and then Mikko Rantanen for the Colorado Avalanche a few years after that. And hey, maybe one of these guys will get it in their home country in Tampere, Finland. But I'm also interested in some of the depth for the Dallas Stars, because not only are they young, but their roster construction is so well, especially when you see that towards the end of Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin's contracts, that they're still going to be able to put a winning roster together. And the thing is, these two teams are built quite differently. While you have older players while still getting picks through the draft. I mean, there was this one trade where they traded with the Detroit Red Wings back in the draft, and then they used that trade to get Chris Tanev in the deadline last year. They turned it into something which was outstanding management by Jim Nill. These two front offices are ranked third for the Panthers and first for the Dallas Stars. I don't know if you saw that survey the other day of 40 front office members. And also, these two teams have the two biggest jumps in franchise values from the recent Sportico franchise values. So that's another connection there for that. And also, Barkov's first goal of his career in his very first game was against the Dallas Stars.
No way. So, I love it.
So that's another interesting storyline here, as these two teams are just so interconnected. But I'm also interested to see on some of Jason Robertson. I remember the contract dispute that he had a few years ago. That
he went out and had 109 points,
and then was right there. Wyatt Johnston, former Panther of Getting Dodonov, former Panther. Mason Marchment as well, leading AHL score from last season in Maverick Bork. So that's so usually the AHL guys, if they're leading the league in scoring, it's usually some of the older guys, not the up and coming prospects.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's another thing that's interesting just about this build for the Dallas Stars. And obviously, we haven't even mentioned his name on the show yet, Miro Heiskanen.
Yes.
Like one of the top defensemen, another Finn that's going to be a showcase here for this Global Series. I'm interested to see of how the Panthers are going to try to get through the defense of the Dallas Stars throughout this matchup, because I mean they still got to look after Sam Reinhart. They still gotta be able to protect Jake Ottinger from what Matthew Tkachuk could do from getting second or third opportunities right in front before a whistle is blown, before freezing the puck. So that's another thing that the Dallas Stars will need to look after. So what are you looking forward to outside of the Hintz Barkov matchup?
Yeah, man, the talent runs really, really deep for both sides, and I think you're right on. I think you hit the nail on the head with Dallas. Like, you got to find a way to shut down Barkov's line, basically. Like try to shut down him. How's the defense gonna? I think this is a great test for Dallas too, because of all these new ads that they made in the offseason with Dumba and Lyubushkin. Well, like, now try to go prove it. Like, can you play against this type of Panthers team that likes to just heavy forecheck, and they're going to make you pay, like physically, emotionally, like you name it. Like, the Panthers are going to come at you hard and fast. I think this is a great test. So I think that matchup, just the D zone for the Dallas Stars, how do they get through this forecheck of the Panthers? If it's been something the Stars have been a bit slow here in the first, handful of games, it's getting out of their own zone. They're a team that wants to play fast. And, Pete DeBoer, as you know, he wants to stretch the ice out. Dallas loves to do those long stretch passes, especially in the second period, try to stretch a defense out. But Florida doesn't want to give you that. They don't want to give you a ton of time. They're going to put bodies on pucks. So how do the Stars work through that stylistically is something that I'm certainly going to keep my eye on, because it's going to be a challenge, that's for sure. And I think this is like, okay, like we got all these new guys in here. Like, let's see if you can prove yourself against a Panther squad.
And credit to Pete DeBoer and this fit for the Dallas Stars, because usually when he makes a stop somewhere, usually it's a good first year, and then it falls off from there. So but it's also credit to Jim Noam, just the way he's constructed this roster, that he's been able to continue to build off this on what we expect these two teams to continue to make another playoff run.
Yeah, I think DeBoer said when he took over the job, he got handed the keys to like a Mercedes. Like, you just don't crash it, right? Like, you got a lot of great talents, and man, the Stars are going to have some work to do when it comes to contracts with Wyatt Johnston, who's going to be up. They got Otterdam, which is good, but then you got to pay Stankoven, who we didn't even mention, and he's going to be in the thick of the Calder race. You would think this season, already 9 points in the first 9 games. So he's a guy to look out for. He's a lot of fun to watch. Like, he's a small guy. It's running around out there and trying to hit everything too. He's crazy. So that's another guy I would be remiss not to bring up. Alrighty. Some quick predictions, and then we'll get out of here. I'm going to go with the split. Stars and Panthers win one. Both fan bases, they get to enjoy a win. What do you say? You think the Panthers can take both? I mean, I think they can. I'm not even confident in saying the split.
I would love to, just for the storyline of just the Paul Maurice, Pete DeBoer.
Yes.
But I mean, this Dallas Stars team is just so great. I mean, what for every top up and down. I mean, it's funny because the Panthers, when Matt Duchene was bought out by the Nashville Predators, I thought that was a guy that the Panthers should have gone after. But hey, he stays in the South for him. So credit to him. But also for this matchup, I mean, it's the safe pick. I'm going with the safe one for this one in a split. And I mean, listen, I mean, I do. For this one, I'm going to say Spencer Knight will get the one with the win.
Wow, okay, I like that.
I'm going to say if it is Spencer Knight versus Casey DeSmith, or if they go Bobrovsky versus DeSmith and then Ottinger versus Knight, I would love. Oh, Ottinger versus Knight, the American storyline would be awesome. So regardless of who faces who, that is going to be fun. So regardless, so I'm going to go with the split here. I'm going to go one low scoring game and one crazy 5-4 game. I'm not gonna say which one.
Yeah, it feels like one has to get kind of chaotic. Maybe it's that second one or something. One's got to certainly get chaotic. And as everyone's going to predict, DeSmith and Knight are going to get the wins. Otter and Bobrovsky they're going to get shut out in Finland. But it was so fun to catch up with you. Thank you so much for hopping on. Let the listeners know where they can find you, where you can follow you, and maybe possibly we got to catch up down the road. Possibly for Stanley Cup preview. It'll be a few months, but yeah, please share where people can find you.
They can follow me on X at Monoman12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at @LO_FLA Panthers, and we are everywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube. How about yourself for my listeners?
Yeah, you can find me at Joey the Jet 19 on the X, and as you just put perfectly, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining us for an NHL Global Series preview. Yes, it kicks off today. Get ready for the Stars versus the Panthers. Be sure to subscribe to us on the YouTube. Leave us a like, leave us a comment. Drop your predictions below who you think's going to win this NHL Global Series. Going to be an absolute blast. Armando, thank you so much once again. Hope you guys enjoyed this NHL Global Series preview, and we will both be back and ready on a Monday. I don't know, maybe Armando will throw out an episode this weekend or two after one of the games, but we'll be back Monday because we are your podcast every single day. Alrighty, so long, Stars fans and Panthers fans on this NHL Global Series preview.